Hey everyone, when Xbox announced last month that they were releasing their last batch of backwards compatible games, just like many of you, I decided to take a look through the list and find a game I've never tried before and give it a shot. While there are lots of games that I wanted to try, there was actually very few on the list that I already owned, so I decided to try 50 Cent Blood on the Sand. Fair warning, most of the footage I have is subtitled and there may be a decent amount of cursing in the footage from the game, and there's also some violent kills in the game. The game is rated mature for a reason. The idea of running around as 50 Cent killing a bunch of people seemed destined to fail in my mind. I also wouldn't call myself a fan of 50 Cent or his style of music as a whole. So when I picked up this game just over a year ago, it was basically because I found it at a thrift store and it was a cheap game to add to the collection. And because of that, I think my expectations going into the game were rather low. However, I will say, I was pleasantly surprised. The game is a third-person cover shooter and it works fairly well. The game does show its age, with both graphics and game mechanics being a bit dated, but none of it was game-breaking or anything of that nature. It was a rather smooth, linear experience that was a good length with satisfying gunplay. The first thing people always notice about video games is the visuals. Considering this is an Xbox 360 game, the visuals aren't terrible, but they are definitely of their time. They're not the best or the worst 360 visuals out there in terms of facial recognition, set design, and detail. However, the color scheme of the game is bland. I get it's called Blood on the Sand, but the game looks like it's a monochromatic color scheme based on the color of sand, and it stops the game from having any satisfying visuals. There's zero warm or vibrant colors in the game, and it gets very tiring to look at. Basically, everything looks like it's a different shade of sand, and that created a very dull set to look at. The character designs, however, were more realistic than I was expecting. Again, they weren't perfect representations of the people, however considering it's originally a 360 game, I think they were pretty good. Once you get used to the visuals, then the next thing you'll most likely notice is the audio. This ranged from pretty good to terrible. First off, I will say, even though I don't listen to this style of music, I think the soundtrack for the game fit and worked really well. It's a bunch of 50 Cent songs. At least I assume they're all his. Like I said, I know very little about his music, and I thought I would get tired of hearing it, but I had no issues with it at all. Fair warning though, the music does have some vulgar language in it. There is definitely a reason why the game is rated mature. As for the actual game, the dialogue and performance of the voice actors were more fleshed out than I thought they would be, considering it's a cover shooter first and foremost. The script isn't fantastic, and if you're looking for a narrative-driven game, this isn't it. This isn't The Last of Us. But that doesn't mean that the performances were terrible. I do think they were better than most people will expect when going into the game for the first time. The story itself is pretty ridiculous, and it basically comes down to, she stole my crystal skull, and I want it back. That's it. 50 Cent will destroy towns and murder whoever gets in his way for this crystal skull. He'll team with or go against anyone and everyone because his mind is set on this one track and there's no deviation. It's a very generic plot, and it only exists as an excuse to explain why 50 Cent is running around and killing everyone in sight. Now, if you can look past that, then I think you'll have a good time. But if you're looking for any storytelling beats that have long-term ramifications or dialogue trees that have an impact on the story, then you're in the wrong place. You're not going to find anything of that nature. This is a straight-line hallway game that you can play on mute with no subtitles, and as long as you kill every enemy, you will end up beating the game. There's no complexity to it in that sense, and the story is essentially background to the gunplay. If that's the case, then the gunplay better be really good, and for the most part, it is. There's a good variety of weapons, even though I chose to use the same ones for most of my playthrough. At the beginning, the guns do feel like they have a lot of weight behind them, and it makes them very satisfying to use. But as the game goes on, if you choose the wrong weapons, the enemies can start to feel like bullet sponges. There isn't a lot of customization to the weapons either. While you can buy more with the in-game currency and switch them out, they come pre-loaded with attachments, so if you want a certain scope, you have to use the one weapon that comes pre-attached to it. That being said, because of the level designs, you won't see yourself really needing specific recoil attachments or different scopes, and the set guns should be just fine to beat the game. There are also melee combos which are kind of weird to use. They take you out of your normal third-person view and they become quick-time cutscenes, and the only button you ever need to hit is B. The animations are cool and well done, but they're not very fluid. It's not like an Uncharted game where you can go from guns to punching and back to guns in an instant. There is also a bunch of different melee combos and audio taunts you can purchase with the in-game currency, so you can customize your character in that sense, like choosing which weapons are equipped, but not much else. Aside from purchasing weapons and such in the store, there are also challenges, high scores, and unlockables for the player. The challenges include in-level time challenges, as well as finding posters and shooting targets hidden throughout each level. Without doing all of these, getting the high scores on each level seems basically impossible, so it does give you a reason to go back through and master everything. As you play, you unlock things within the main menu as well. These include from screenshots to full music videos within the game. Again, I'm not someone who listens to 50 Cent regularly, but it is a cool feature to have within the game. I would say most of the game is average to above average, with nothing standing out as spectacular. But while nothing stands out as fantastic, there are moments where it stands out as terrible. The game is repetitive, shoot and kill, with very little nuance to it, but the one thing that I hated the most was the enemy helicopters. This was an ending sequence to a level more than once, and I think it was the worst part of the game. From gameplay with the rockets and hit detection, to the helicopter being able to stop and change direction at the exact last second multiple times, it was frustrating to play. And also, this is by far the worst audio in the game. The Gatling guns from the helicopters were terrible to listen to. The first time I heard it, I thought the audio was glitching. And then the fact that shooting down a helicopter happened multiple times throughout the game was a massive disappointment to me. They did also add in a mechanic called Gangsta Time, basically the ability to slow down time. It's something that I rarely used, as I rarely felt like it made a difference or even helped at all. And the actual biggest issue I had with the gameplay that was consistent all the way throughout was that the hug wall button and the roll button were the same thing. I consistently would try to roll and end up hiding behind a pillar instead. Yes, I know the symbol will come up to indicate that if I press it, I would hug a wall, but sometimes you're not looking out for the symbol when you're in the middle of a gunfight. Full button mapping would have helped solve my problem, but there's only button presets to choose from, and none of them solved my issue. At the end of the day, am I happy they decided to add this game to the backwards compatibility list? Yes. Did I enjoy my time with the game? Yes. Do I recommend more people try it out? Yes, with the caveat of going into it with the right frame of mind. Do not think you're getting a new AAA experience. Understand that it has many flaws that a lot of 360 games have, and that the story is basically pointless. If you can look past that, then definitely go ahead and give it a try. I know in recent weeks, the price for the physical game has skyrocketed, so it might be a difficult game to find. And if you're trying to figure out if it's worth the price, I did beat the game and see the credits in roughly 6 hours of gameplay. I know game length is a major factor for lots of people when deciding to buy a game or not, so you can take that into consideration. But if you have the game already sitting on your shelf, then go ahead and give it a try. Just don't expect a Game of the Year experience, and I think you'll be satisfied with it. But let me know down below if you've played it before, and what are your thoughts on the game? Did you enjoy it, or are you looking to find a copy of it now that it's on the backwards compatibility list? If you enjoyed the video, be sure to hit the thumbs up, it really helps out a lot. And be sure to share the video with anyone who might enjoy it. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe for more video game related content. Thanks for making it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. If you're looking for another third-person shooter to try, then check out my video on Tomb Raider for the PS4.